Pneumatic system. The pneumatic system of the UH60 operates from bleed air furnished by the main engines, the APU, or an external air source. The pneumatic system consists of the engine start system, the anti-ice system, the heating system, and the extended range fuel system. Bleed air supplied by main engine, the APU, or an external air source can be used for starting purposes. The normal means of starting is through use of the APU as an air source. The APU can provide sufficient air pressure and volume to accomplish single engine starts throughout a wide range of ambient conditions and to accomplish dual engine start when conditions permit. Chapter 5 of Operator's Manual lists engine start envelopes for given ambient conditions. Engine starts may also be accomplished by using an operating engine as an air source and are known as cross-bleed starts. Cross-bleed starts can be accomplished providing the anti-ice light on the source engine is off, NG for the source engine is above 90%, and NR is 100%. If an engine is to be used as an air source, the air source heat start switch must be placed in the engine position. The heater system is pressurized by bleed air from any of the sources listed above. The heater system mixes ambient air with heated bleed air to provide warm air to the crew stations and to help prevent overhead windows, gunner's windows, from fogging. The heater will automatically disengage when the starter is engaged. Heater's use will reduce maximum torque by 5%. The engine anti-ice systems consist of the engine anti-ice and engine inlet anti-ice system. Both anti-ice systems utilize bleed air from their respective engines only. The APU and external sources are not used for engine anti-ice systems. The engine anti-ice system utilizes bleed air extracted from the compressor of the engine. The bleed air prevents ice formation on the vanes of the inlet. Anti-ice functions are controlled by the pilot through a switch labeled number 1 engine anti-ice or number 2 engine anti-ice. Placing the engine anti-ice switch to on results in anti-ice start bleed valve remaining open. This action directs heated air to the inlet vanes. An advisory light labeled number 1 engine anti-ice on or number 2 engine anti-ice on will illuminate when the anti-ice start bleed valve opens. These bleed lights will also illuminate during low power conditions between 88 to 92% NG because the anti-ice start bleed valve opens to dump excess compressor discharge pressure, preventing the possibility of engine flameout. Engine anti-ice use will reduce max torque available per engine by 20%. The engine inlet and anti-ice is controlled by the same switch listed above, but utilizes air from a separate bleed air tap. Bleed air is routed directly to the engine inlet anti-ice modulating valve. When the engine anti-ice switch is placed on, the anti-ice modulating valve samples ambient temperature through the insulated ambient sense port. If the ambient temperature is above 13 degrees Celsius, the modulating valve may not open. If the ambient temperature is between 4 degrees Celsius and 13 degrees Celsius, the modulating valves may open. If the ambient temperature is below 4 degrees Celsius, the modulating valves must open. When the modulating valve opens, heated bleed air is forced through the airframe engine inlet and out the slits of the inlet on the inlet. When the inlet temperature reaches 93 degrees Celsius, an advisory light labeled number 1 engine inlet anti-ice on or number 2 engine anti-ice on will illuminate. The illumination of the number 1 and number 2 engine inlet anti-ice on light indicates that the system is in proper operating condition.